All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Hallie Caldwell, and I am a member of the Quad Education team. And I'm here with two fantastic panelists today who are admissions counselors with us. We're going to talk about how to get into a top STEM school. And let's see. So today we're going to talk about, we're going to introduce our panelists, and then we'll talk about just a STEM overview. What does it mean? We'll talk about the top STEM schools, what to consider while thinking about which ones you might want to apply to, how to stand out academically, how to stand out through extracurriculars, using your application narratives to help you out. We'll give some tips for success, and then we'll dive into a Q&A session. So as questions pop up, feel free to put them in the Q&A box, and we'll get to those at the end. So we have Dan and Ariana here with us today. They're both wonderful members of the Quad team as well. And thank you both for being here. Dan, can you give us a little introduction on yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Hallie. Yeah, it's great to be here. So Dan, admissions counselor for Quad Education, and it's a blast doing this. I love working with students as they make this important transition to the next stage of their life. It's super exciting. And if you're here today, I imagine you're interested in STEM, which is fascinating. So I'm a two-time graduate of Stanford University, and in my day job, I'm trying to get a startup off the ground and working closely with others in the tech startup community.
Thanks so much, Dan. Ariana, can you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Awesome. My name's Ariana Lee. I graduated from Dartmouth College with a BS in neuroscience. I was pre-med, so if anyone has any questions or interest in that, definitely can support you there. But I echo Dan's enthusiasm for helping to see all of you wonderful, bright-eyed students go on to the next step of success.
All right. Thanks, Ariana. So we'll dive right in here and just give an overview of what is STEM. Dan, sure, you want to start us off here?
Yeah, go ahead and kick it off. So if you're on this call, you probably already know what STEM is, standing for science, technology, engineering, and math. It's a big subject area, and we'll kind of dive into some specifics here. But if you're looking at science, you're looking at the natural, physical, life sciences. Technology is more in the kind of computer engineering, electronics related things. Engineering, this is more of your mechanical and electrical and those sorts of things. Civil engineering, and then math also is like a great fit if you're into different types of engineering. So we'll dive into some of these specific majors and give you a sense of what's out there to explore, and also kind of ways to prepare your applications for one of these fields.
Great.
Awesome. So there are a plethora of majors within the STEM field, ranging from astronomy all the way to physics, as well as other majors that can kind of fit if you're looking to go into particular niches such as chemical engineering, astrophysics, or planetary science. But these are pretty much the main majors that you'll pretty much see within the STEM field. So yeah, if you're pre-med, you don't have to stick to, of course, any of these majors, but these are some of the main ones that can fulfill those prerequisites.
Great. So we'll talk a little bit about some top STEM schools and then some factors to consider while kind of building that college list.
Great. So just give you, some high level, information on some of these like top STEM schools. These are by no means the only place to launch a career. There's lots and lots of fantastic places to do STEM research or to launch a STEM career. But these are some notable ones. So I'll say a few. Let's see. I'll probably go through Stanford, and then since there's kind of to give an overview. Ariana, if you're okay doing Princeton or Harvard, does that sound all right?
It's fine with me.
Okay, cool. So MIT. So this is like a really just a really strong community, award-winning faculty. You got 73 Nobel Prize winners, 33 National Medals of Sciences. So you're really with like an all-star group of scholars and professors. And students and who are aspiring to kind of join that community. So it's a really great place for that. Lots of undergraduate research opportunities as well. So you can work alongside your professors, get really hands-on in your learning, and do it in like a cutting edge environment, which is always, super fun and exciting and challenging and rewarding. In a lot of other places, that sort of like quality of research is only the sort of thing that like a grad student can do. So to be able to do that as an undergrad is just like really awesome. And like 85% of MIT students are able to participate in that kind of graduate level research. Caltech has a little bit, higher admissions rate. It's still these are all very competitive, obviously, but, Caltech is also a fantastic school. They boast about like small class sizes. They're close to Los Angeles. If you want to be on the West Coast, this is a really good spot for you. Lots of interdisciplinary studies and chances to kind of customize that curriculum to your interests. So that kind of like flexibility, I want to explore the intersection of like different types of STEM fields. This could be a really good fit for you. Over half of the students there also participate in undergraduate research in their first year. And 90% of them do it at some point during their career or during their time at Caltech. So Stanford, my alma mater, I can vouch for it being just an amazing community. And you're right there in Silicon Valley. You've got all the exciting tech things happening all around you. It's really, every day you have like, interesting companies, startups. It's a great place if you want to do something entrepreneurial in the STEM field. It's, just a really great place. A couple of notable programs in STEM there. So there's a BioX undergraduate summer research program. That's awesome. Genomic research internships, genomic, if that's a kind of thing that you're really interested in, like this is a really good fit. Obviously great for, computer science and things like that as well.
And Princeton, I'm sure, just like the rest on this list, needs really no introduction. It's currently ranked by U.S. News #1 university in the country, and it's an Ivy League school as well. And what's unique about Princeton is that it really prides itself on undergraduate studies, as it doesn't have graduate programs. So you'll see Princeton really nurturing different STEM majors like architecture, engineering, astrophysical sciences, just to name a few. It does also have a pretty low acceptance rate, similar to the rest on this list. However, Harvard, to follow up, has one of the lowest acceptance rates, but it offers more than 3,700 courses and 50 undergraduate fields of study. It has a ton of research available within the Boston area. It's right near MIT. It has a very strong connection to any lab research that you might be looking for. All of these schools on this list is top tier.
Sounds like you can't really go wrong with any of them. But I think just one caveat we want to add is you don't need to go to one of these 5 schools to have a career in STEM. If you don't get into one of these, you don't apply to one of these, you can still have an incredibly successful career in STEM and a fantastic education.
Yeah, just to second that, I mean, I'm currently here in Arizona and I'm really close to the ASU Polytechnic campus, and there are all sorts of really cool things if you're interested in like aerospace and stuff like that. I mean, some of these big state schools have just really phenomenal programs. So take a look at like what is like regionally accessible in the area. If there's a particular field that you're interested in, it may not be one of these schools that are like, best overall, but the best in your specific area of interest, maybe somewhere else. And, applying with that in your applications gives you a real edge, because they're like, oh, this person really understands the unique strengths of this school, and they're going to really excel in this particular field.
Great. We'll talk about some factors to consider, and a lot of these you're going to see in any sort of how to build a college list. What should you think about when applying to college? We'll cover them here as well, and then talk about them a little bit as it pertains to STEM majors specifically.
So let me take this one.
Yeah, you want to start us off?
Sure.
All right. So, factors to consider when you're starting to look at the list or starting to look at what schools to consider. Location, just as Dan and Hallie mentioned, It does not have to be those particular schools. There are many schools that offer STEM research. It could be state schools. It could be a school that might be in the top 50 list that you still want to consider and add to your list. Budget as well. So not everyone can necessarily afford the schools on, on this particular top list. So if budget is something that you want to consider, maybe look at schools within your own state. There might be a lot of opportunities, research available, scholarships to consider that are offered because you're within that particular state. Class campus size. So if you want a school that has a more intimate class setting, you want to be able to really reach and develop that relationship with your professors. Maybe you look at schools that offer that. A lot of state schools, even though they might have like a large population, they actually do offer smaller class sizes. And I'll speak for example, I'm in Michigan. So University of Michigan has a lot of students, but they offer those very small class sizes and you wouldn't know. So I always say, reach out to particular students that are there and kind of ask those questions as well to get just some insider factors to consider.
Yeah, so it's something I would I would add here, as you're looking about like what other majors that might be there are like, it's for some people it's really nice to go to like a STEM focused school. You're 100% sure that's what you want to do and you like that kind of energy around the STEM fields. Others like to go to a place where there's lots of other options as well, where you can do cross cultural things, so some of the ones like I'm thinking of like Rice University in Houston is very much like STEM focused, or Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, where I'm an adjunct faculty right now, also like really great, vibrant, STEM communities. But and if that's like where you're 100% sure, like then those are a really good fit. Or you could look at one that has lots and lots of other diversity of fields. Anything else we should say on this one? This is a good topic. So many factors to consider.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that. Sorry.
No, I was going to say study abroad opportunities too. Looking at study abroads in STEM fields can be kind of hard to find because a lot of the study abroad opportunities are within the language. Within the particular language you might be trying to study. But there are certain schools that offer study abroad opportunities for lab research, like in Zurich, Switzerland, or, some other places across the world. Just look into them, take advantage of your study abroad opportunities when you go to college. Can't say it enough. Just try to get into something related. Yeah.
All right. So we'll dive into more about how to kind of stand out while applying to STEM schools.
Okay, so some of these things aren't unique to STEM. For example, like your GPA still matters a lot when getting into like these schools, but of course it's never enough to like differentiate you. So you have to have a high GPA, especially in your math and science classes, to get into one of these competitive programs. But don't neglect your other classes either. People want, like, admissions committees want to see like a well-rounded applicant. The main point is that you're challenging yourself, you're going beyond the minimum requirements, you're taking more of the STEM fields, biology or chemistry or physics that you need. You're looking at kind of advanced opportunities, AP courses and those things like that. You're doing calculus, you're taking your advanced maths, and anything that just shows that like you have a hunger to learn more in those areas. Definitely like take advantage of like the AP, the IB classes. If there aren't available to you, there are ways that you can take honors courses or do extra offerings. You can enroll in your community college or some online programs as well. Lots of ways to show that you're hungry to learn in those areas. The main point is like, you just show that you're willing to challenge yourself. You're not taking on more than you can handle, but you are pushing yourself. You are kind of stretching and trying to grow. So wherever you're at right now, if this is something that's interesting to you, just take an honest assessment of like your schedule and see, if there are other ways you can show off like your interest and your academic abilities in these areas. A little note about testing. So many schools are kind of going into this test optional direction. But these tests do show your overall college readiness, especially things like the SAT math, ACT science. You do want to aim for a high overall score in those areas, overall high score, but especially in these areas. And if you can signal that and show that in your application, like that's going to help set you apart.
Great. Ariana, do you have anything to add to this?
That was very cumulative.
Perfect. So extracurriculars.
Awesome. So the biggest thing is not all of your extracurriculars have to be STEM related. A lot of students who pursue STEM and pursue STEM in particular at these particular schools all tend to have similar backgrounds, right? So the biggest thing is, how do you individualize yourself? How do you make yourself look and sound unique and get your personality across? So you don't necessarily have to have all of your extracurriculars be within STEM. If it is within STEM, what in particular are you interested within STEM? That shows that you're going above and beyond to look into this particular research. Colleges want differentiation because it breeds innovation. They want unique, different thoughts in their universities. So try to show and try to look at your activities and see, how are you showing that? How are you showing that commitment? Are you a leader within your extracurriculars? Are you starting your own clubs or starting your own research or doing anything that shows and demonstrates that passion and commitment? So try and think of that, especially because colleges are looking for that next generation of leaders, and we want that to be you.
Something that you can do that like really helps like show that leadership is like, it's always nice when you can demonstrate that you're going beyond like what's available in your school, if that's something that's possible for you. You know, is there a way that you show that you're applying what you're learning in these fields? So I always like to tell, you know, applicants that I advise, you know, get out and talk to as many people as you can in these fields. Usually they're pretty friendly and they're pretty willing to offer advice to a student. You know, they see, oh, like, you're just like me back in the day. Like, here's what I would do. Here's how I would get involved in that. Here are ways that you can like try. You're interested in aerospace. Here's a way you can try it out. You're interested in coding. Like, come work on a little project with us. Those sorts of experiences, one, application aside, they're just like the best learning opportunities. And you'll just like get a real sense for like what you really are interested in and want to do. And then on the application itself, you can like point to like real world impact and application, all that, which always can set you apart.
Yeah.
So here's some examples of like, you know, some STEM extracurriculars, non-exhaustive list, right? But, you know, find, you know, places like hospitals, shelters, retirement homes, raising money for charities that are related to science or technology, science clubs, obviously. If there's an area of interest that isn't covered in your school, like be the one to launch that club, find a faculty advisor, you know, recruit a few friends and like just go for it. Like that shows a lot of leadership, and you get to work on something that's more tailored to your interests. Being a mathlete, participating in the labs and showing your interest in that. Interning at banks or startups or consulting firms, things that have these more kind of like, you know, analytic, you know, angles to them. Definitely like looking at like STEM classes in your local community college. Let's see. You know, these are a lot of like, there's plenty of like good day camps. I already mentioned like interning. Or just shadowing. Like, these don't have to be paid, they don't have to be formal things. You don't have to like look online to say like, where is like an internship or something that's posted. Actually, some of the coolest opportunities come from just reaching out and talking to people. Be like, sure, come in and work with us for a few weeks. And it wasn't ever online, you found it yourself. Like, so don't rule out, you know, those sorts of informal arrangements.
Absolutely. Remember, quality over quantity. So
yes,
put everything on your list. Let me join this.
yes,
That.
100%.
Actually have that impact in what you're doing.
Yeah, like all of these things, like your goal isn't to just go to college. Your goal is to like launch a meaningful career and something that lines up with your interests and passions. And college is a hugely important step in that. Don't get me wrong, but you know, if you're just doing it for college itself, like you're missing it. Like make sure you've got your own, like, this is like what I want to do, and this is why college at MIT or Stanford or Dartmouth or whatever is like, you know, going to really launch me in that direction.
Would you both recommend trying multiple different kind of STEM fields out through extracurriculars and classes rather than kind of diving into one without checking out the others? So that look okay on a college application, or should you really just be focusing on like what you think you want to do?
If you're lucky to know what you want to do, then do what you want to do. But if you're not, because I wasn't, try different things out to see what is your passion.
A lot of things like look good on paper, but until you like get into the lab and you do it, you don't really know. And you might have some surprising discoveries, like, oh, this is really, really interesting. So yeah, this is a great time to explore.
I did a lab with fruit flies trying to study Alzheimer's, and I discovered quickly fruit flies and not get along.
Why not?
So you're not going to be disqualified from going to a college because you've tried out multiple different STEM fields or you're not consistent. You can try new things and find what works best for you.
Absolutely.
Standing out through your application narratives.
Awesome. So biggest thing again is to show that personality. Let it come through. Let who you are be exhibited through your words if possible. So this is a great time to kind of, I wouldn't necessarily say to make your essay about your commitment to STEM, but more as far as how it was impactful. If you want to talk about it, you want to talk about something that was impactful to you, about how you, blanking on words, but how you were, how you became who you are now, like what has shaped who you are. So if that is a STEM related experience, you want to talk about how it's been impacting you versus making a laundry list of I did this, I did this, I did this. Yes. And then of course, there are some programs in schools that will allow you to also apply with a supplemental essay. So that will give you a chance to kind of dig deeper into the STEM specific related experiences that you had.
Maybe we can talk a little bit just about, in general, how essays can really help you stand out among other applicants, especially kind of everything's looking the same on paper.
Yes, absolutely. So
I know it's not on the slide here, but
okay,
it might be good to call. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So standing out, you want to again look at what has happened to you, what is unique to you. So if it is, for example, something within, I would say your personal essay is more a chance for you to give your background. So if it's like a cultural or personal background story, or for example, me, when I applied, I'm from Detroit, Michigan. So something that was impactful to me was homelessness. So on the way to high school, on the way to my high school, I would literally pass families of homeless people to get into a chance of education and a future. So that juxtaposition really impacted me and my future choices. So just giving something that really that has shaped you will help stand out against other application narratives. You are not like anyone else, so really bring that out. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I think that makes total sense. And especially when you're applying to school where everyone kind of looks the same on paper, it's important to show your personality in other ways.
I love that. I love the, like, just that principle of like bringing your background to it and telling that story and talking about, like, you know, yes, you're interested in STEM, but what are you interested in doing with STEM? And what are you interested in, like, what problems are you interested in solving in the world? Like, I love that, and that example of like homelessness. It's like, you can solve homelessness with a lot of different STEM applications. You can think creatively about it. And so talk about why that cause is like meaningful to you, and then talk about what you might learn, you know, in STEM to like tackle that problem at a you know, a scalable level.
Absolutely.
Great. All right, so this is an example just of a secondary supplemental essay question from Caltech. So I guess maybe we can read it and then just talk about some things that you would recommend thinking about as you go to answer a question like this.
Yeah, so I guess best practice for having like some text slide here is to read it so we can get into it. But this is a good example and indicative of the type of essay you'll see. So, at Caltech, we investigate some of the most challenging fundamental problems in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Identify and describe 2 of these STEM-related experiences from your high school years, either in or out of the classroom, and tell us how and why they activated your curiosity. What about them made you want to learn more and explore more? So this is just a chance to think about all your STEM related experiences. Like, to be like, don't try to think about like, what do they want to hear? Use this as a chance to like reflect on yourself, like what really does spark your interest. Like, what's the sort of thing that like you want to spend your free time like watching YouTube videos on and digging into. Those are good clues for you. And if you are not in the middle of your applications right now, if you're a junior or a sophomore, find opportunities to explore those areas deeper, because then you'll have a great story to tell. You say like, hey, my sophomore year, like this really piqued my interest, and I started doing these things, and I started getting involved in this clubs, and I started having this sort of impact on it. You've got a really great narrative to show how Caltech or whatever school is like the next logical step on your journey.
Absolutely. Also, if you're having any trouble as far as like it's like a method to writing, I'm thinking in a STAR method, which is situation, task, action, result, is helpful. Make sure you always explain the result if you're going to give an experience. Always think of the why. Why did you do this experience? Why was this important to you? What did you learn from it? And why do you want to continue doing this in the future if that is your choice to do so?
Just some great points. All right, so we're going to move on to just some tips and tricks for success, and then we have some questions and we'll get started answering those. Ariana, you want to take this?
Yeah. So step that you should always take, or tips for success: seek out STEM internships or research opportunities to help differentiate yourself. So look at, again, the why. Why is this impactful to you? Why are you passionate to even do it? Use your essays to differentiate yourself. So again, bring that personality to the forefront. If you want to talk about, let's say, physics or something interesting, look at a hobby that you might have done. Let's say like a marble machine, or I don't know, one of those where you drop the marble in and watch where it goes. Make it creative. Think of something unique. Consider your interest and specialized study areas as you pick your major. So if you're looking at going into, let's say, working with NASA, maybe you're looking at astrophysics, or think of long-term where you see yourself, or what are hobbies that you love to do, and think of what majors kind of align to that. Show your passion. Am I reading these in opposite direction? I think I am. Anyways.
No, I think you're fine. I'm realizing the numbers aren't quite correct here. So
okay,
you're good.
Consider your interests and specialized study areas as you pick your major. Show that passion that you have. And don't be afraid to do another interest that you have, whether that's art. Maybe you really love drawing, but you also really love science. So maybe you do something that combines the two. Maybe it's structural engineering or architect. Think of ways that you can have both passions, have your cake and eat it too. Take challenging courses, and always just challenge yourself in general. Keep pushing yourself to the limit without breaking yourself, of course, and watch the success unfold, and continue to be a well-rounded applicant. That's most important.
Yeah, and I would just jump on that, like that last piece of like weaving your interests together. I see some applicants who feel like they have to like check the boxes on like all these different areas. I need a sport, and I need an art, and I need like, sure, maybe if that's interesting to you, it's always nice to see well-rounded, but make it easy on yourself and make it authentic to you, and see if you can connect them. Like if you are interested in sports and you're part of like the cross country team or the tennis team or the football team, is there a way that you can weave your STEM interest? If you're interested in biology, use your biology knowledge and your understanding of the human body to like help improve your team. That's a neat story to tell. Or design a training apparatus, right? Or if you're interested in, maybe being pre-med, get your service hours in something related in a care facility, in a hospital, something like that. So find ways that you can kind of overlap things and connect STEM into those.
Like that.
Yeah, that's great. All right, so let's dive into some Q&As here. So one question here, is a bachelor's in nursing part of a STEM career?
Absolutely.
And, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, there's just a second part of this question about whether we're going to discuss like bio, informatics, data science, statistics, nursing, and I think all of those are kind of a part of the STEM career, but maybe we can dive into this just a little bit more.
Absolutely. Bachelor's of Science in Nursing. Yeah, that's STEM field. Anything medical related would be in the STEM field. And what was the second part of the question? Bioinformatics. And
it was asking if we were going to be covering those things, but I think kind of the information that we gave covers everything in general and doesn't dive into the specific majors themselves. But would you say there's different advice you would give for a BSN versus a data science degree, or is kind of all of this advice the same?
Absolutely. I know there are specific schools that offer BSNs and not every school offers that. So I would definitely check and make sure that you create your list with that in mind. And then also, can you go into nursing without having a BSN? Unsure. I'm unsure on that one. Does anyone else know?
You can go into nursing without a BSN. It just might be a different path. And then, so another question we have is, I'm homeschooled. How can I show leadership in my extracurriculars? I think that's a great question.
Yeah, I'm happy to take this one. Lots and lots of opportunities. And this answer this question good for even those of you who aren't homeschooled. Like think beyond your school. That shows an extra level of initiative. Look in your community. There are hobbyists. There are groups that are doing things. Like I'm thinking just right here in the Phoenix area, there's a really great astronomy club that does all sorts of interesting things, and they run our local observatory. And like as a volunteer, you can get involved in that. There's no reason they wouldn't take an enthusiastic high school student to come and participate, and maybe even give you some leadership and mentorship opportunities. So definitely, you're not limited to what's within the school.
We did a webinar last week on extracurriculars, and feel free to go, that's on our website for free. You can go take a look at it, but we talk a lot about how you don't necessarily need to be the president of a club to be competitive or show leadership experience. You don't need to, you can turn hobbies that you have into extracurriculars. If you create them into larger projects, you can create your own clubs, those types of things. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do this.
Yeah, I think of leadership as I think it makes sense that like students would immediately think about, I got to be president of a club, I got to have a formal title or something like that. But if you're interviewing for jobs and they ask for like leadership opportunities, what they want to see is like this person saw a problem, they proposed a solution, and they got other people on board. And you can do that with a formal title, you can do that without a formal title, but being able to tell those stories is of initiative, and the impact that comes from that does really stand out. Ooh, forensic scientists, that sounds cool. STEM colleges have majors. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, so maybe somebody knows specific. I'm not familiar with some specifics on which universities, but somebody's got to have something like that.
Yeah, I actually wanted to become a forensic scientist as well.
Awesome. Perfect.
Yeah. And in fact, I did a lot of forensic science summer programs at different schools. There are certain colleges that do offer forensic science as a major. However, you can take a major you can take any STEM major and still lead a goal to forensic science. So it doesn't have to be specific forensic science. And I would actually look up, how do you become a forensic scientist? Because there are pathways. There are you can get an internship as at a lab, or in a if you want to take a step further, go to a morgue. I used to work in a morgue in high school, so there are many ways to get there.
Yeah, talk to as many people as you can. They'll be your best guide.
Yes.
As many people who have done who are in that field. You can use your parents' LinkedIn to see if you can find, you can find people. Usually
Make
people
a LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Make a LinkedIn. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, build your network now.
Great. So how do college admissions counselors consider international applicants, essays, and applications who might not have similar extracurricular opportunities as American students?
Very good question. Want to take it, Dan? What?
Yeah, let me see. They're looking for demonstration of skills and attributes, not necessarily a particular way of demonstrating those. So it's not as I guess that's what I would say. It's not about the activity. It's about how do you demonstrate the skills that they're asking for, the attributes that they're looking for in that essay.
And I guess so when college admissions committees are looking at kind of applications side by side, if someone goes to a school that might doesn't have the same opportunities as other schools, as the person that went to a school that has extra opportunities, maybe a private school or a school that like a high school kind of focused in STEM, are those applicants kind of weighed the same against each other, or are those factors taken into consideration?
Yeah, admissions committees see hundreds and thousands of applications. They're familiar with all the types of schools that are out there. You won't be the first, talented international applicant that they receive. Like they're pretty savvy when it comes to like understanding the different contexts and then weighing them side by side.
Absolutely. I would say as an international applicant, if there are not certain opportunities available, let's say that you're interested in, there are a lot of virtual opportunities too, or there are still ways to differentiate yourself and show that you do have that demonstrated interest and passion, even if you don't necessarily have the same opportunities as the American applicant.
Great. All right, so feel free to keep popping some questions in. And while we wait for some more, Dan, Ariana, do either of you have any tips that we might not have covered here? Anything you want to reiterate about applying to college in general, about the STEM field, about majoring in STEM majors? Any tips that you give your clients and students?
Gosh, this is so fun. I love talking about this stuff. It's an exciting time. I mean, I kind of wish I could like live 4 different lifetimes and consider the 4 different or more different paths I thought about in college. I think they all would have been really neat. So it's really fun. When I applied to Stanford, one application essay was what matters most to you and why. And the time that I spent actually thinking what mattered most to me and why it was important to me, what continues to be valuable in my life. So beyond just the application, like college is a means to an end, right? Your application is a means to it. It's not the reason you're doing all these things. You're trying to build a life that's meaningful, that's impactful, that's rewarding for you. So take the time through all of this to kind of be reflective and think about what matters most to you and why. And then it will be easier to craft these stories around what extracurriculars am I doing and how do I go about it. So there's my 2 cents.
It's very true. Why? The why. And when you're writing your essay too, everything that you are thinking to write, always put the why behind that. So I completely agree. That makes you stand out so much more to the person who's reading it on the other end. They'll sense that passion for you.
Great. All right. Well, if that's it. We'll give another minute or so for questions, but I just want to say thank you to both Dan and Ariana. It's been fantastic having you both be panelists here. I know we've had you both in webinars before, and I'm sure we'll have you back again. You gave a lot of really great information. Oh, here we go. Do admissions officers weigh grades based on how demanding the school is?
Yes. Well, okay, so there are, if your school has APs or IBs or other classes offered, or maybe you're even doing dual enrollment, that may be weighted differently than someone who's not necessarily taking an honors course or a higher level course. And then also, if your school does ranking, your rank might, that might impact how it's viewed. Yeah, Dan, do you have any more on that one? Let's say
yeah. Those are good answers. Yeah, they do their best to kind of calibrate it, and sometimes like a test score can help with that. Sometimes the ranking can help with that. Sometimes they're familiar enough with different types of schools that they can kind of like adjust them a little bit. So the answer is yes, but not perfectly.
All right. All right, well, we had some great questions and a lot of great information today. Thank you everyone for attending. We're going to send out an email that will have a recording of this webinar within the next few days, like Monday or Tuesday. You'll also be able to find it on our website. And you can also feel free to sign up for a free consultation, send us an email, give us a call. If you're looking for any sort of help kind of deciding where you want to go to college, with the application process, essays, everything related to that. We have a great team with people like Ariana and Dan here to kind of help guide you through that. So feel free to reach out. It was a pleasure having you all. And thank you so much, Dan and Ariana. It was great to see you both again.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks so much.
All right. Have a great evening, everyone.